Chiamaka and Nnamdi looked like the perfect Nigerian couple on their wedding day. Tall, dark and handsome Nnamdi stood with quiet pride, his white agbada starched to perfection. Chiamaka, on the other hand, looked like a queen. Her lace dress sparkled under the sunlight, her makeup flawless, her nails perfectly painted. The crowd couldn't stop staring. People even whispered, "Power couple." They were both young. Nnamdi was 34, while Chiamaka was 28, and they were deeply in love. They lived in Abuja, where life moved fast, and appearances mattered even more. Nnamdi worked as a civil engineer with a reputable firm, while Chiamaka was a fashion content creator on Instagram. She had over 50,000 followers and received free clothes, makeup, and even invitations to exclusive events. From the outside, it seemed like Chiamaka had it all: a beautiful home, a caring husband, a growing online presence, and a glamorous lifestyle. She would post pictures of her dinner dates, designer bags, hotel stays, and soft life quotes. Her friends would comment with fire emojis, and fans would ask, "Sis, how do you do it?" What no one saw was the pressure Nnamdi was under to keep up. Chiamaka had dreams, big ones. She wanted a soft life. She wanted the kind of lifestyle that would make people envy her. She wanted her husband to be like the men she saw on Instagram, always buying business class, surprising their wives with brand new iPhones, taking them to Maldives, and buying Range Rovers just because she believed that love should come with luxury. At first, Nnamdi didn't mind. He loved her and wanted her to be happy. When she said she wanted a destination honeymoon, he agreed. He took a loan to fly them to Dubai for 1 week. She posted pictures by the beach, cocktails in hand, captioned, "Living the life I deserve." She had no idea the honeymoon was paid for with borrowed money. Nnamdi was not poor, but he was a man of peace and moderation. He grew up in a simple home. His father was a teacher and his mother sold garri at the market. He knew the value of money and how easily it could disappear. But with Chiamaka, it was all as if he forgot. The early days of their marriage were filled with joy. They laughed a lot, cuddled at night, cooked together, and watched movies. But slowly, things began to change. Chiamaka started comparing their lives to others. One day, she saw a video of a popular influencer who received a Benz G-Wagon as a birthday gift. That night, she looked at Nnamdi and said, "Babe, when will you buy me a car?" Nnamdi laughed. "One day, my love. Let's save and plan well." But she didn't laugh back. That was the first time Nnamdi saw disappointment in her eyes. Chiamaka believed that her lifestyle was her brand. Every day, she would dress up, even when she wasn't going anywhere. She would arrange her camera stand in the sitting room, change into 3 or 4 different outfits, and shoot content for Instagram. "Good morning, my darlings. It's another soft day," she would say into the camera, flashing her white teeth and adjusting her wig. Nnamdi would just smile from the dining table, where he was eating yam and egg. He supported her. He truly did. He even helped her take pictures when she needed him to. But there was something Chiamaka hadn't realized. Her lifestyle required money, more than they could afford. At first, it was little things. She wanted to change their sitting room chairs because she said the background on her videos didn't look aesthetic. She wanted a chandelier to match the new mirror. She wanted fancy plates and glass cups, even though they already had functional ones. Then it became clothes. "Babe, I need more outfits. I can't keep repeating dresses. My followers will notice." Nnamdi would hesitate. "But you just bought 5 gowns last week." "I know, but I already posted them. I can't repeat them again now." Before he could say more, she would frown and become moody. And Nnamdi, who hated arguments, would eventually agree. "I'll see what I can do," he would say. He didn't stop there. She started attending events, fashion shows, product launches, and so on. And each event required a new look, outfit, makeup, shoes, and sometimes a rented car. Opa doesn't look good in the gram, she said. She began comparing herself to other influencers. Look at Lydia, she would say, showing him a post. Her husband built a boutique for her. See the kind of life her man gives her. Babe, why can't you do the same? Nnamdi would sigh and rub his face. Amaka, I'm trying, but I'm not a millionaire. She would hiss. Try harder. Over time, Chiamaka no longer cooked at home. It was always food delivery. Fancy meals that cost triple what normal food would cost. Nnamdi complained. She said, do you want me to smell like smoke on camera? She stopped going to the market. She stopped budgeting. She stopped thinking about savings. She wanted to live like a queen, even if it meant her husband would suffer in silence. Nnamdi was a quiet man. He didn't like loud things and he didn't talk much, but behind his silence, he carried the heavy weight of a home that was slowly draining him. Every morning, he woke up early and left for work before 7 a.m. He worked as a site engineer and sometimes stayed under the hot sun for hours, supervising workers and solving problems. His salary was good, but it wasn't magic. It could not multiply overnight. Still, he tried. He stopped buying things for himself. His phone was old and cracked, but he said it still worked. His shoes had started peeling, but he polished them every morning to look neat. He wore the same office shirts week after week because there was no money to replace them. Why? Because Chiamaka needed wigs. Chiamaka needed ring lights. Chiamaka needed to look like a star. She didn't know that Nnamdi had taken two loans already, one from his cooperative at work and another from a microfinance bank. He didn't tell her because he didn't want her to worry. But the truth was, he was already sinking. He had no peace. One day, his friend and colleague, Uche, pulled him aside at work. Guy, what's going on with you? You look tired all the time. Nnamdi smiled weakly. I'm fine, just a little stress. Uche replied, no be stress be this. You dey fade. Even your belt don cut. Nnamdi looked down. It was true. His belt was torn and he had used a safety pin to hold it. That night, when he got home, he met Chiamaka on a live Instagram session. She was laughing, sipping a glass of wine, and showing off a new handbag. Thank you to the love of my life for this amazing gift, she said to her followers. Nnamdi just stood by the door, tired and confused. That bag has cost him 45,000 naira. He hadn't even eaten lunch that day because he had skipped it to save money. She ended her live video and turned to him. You didn't even smile in the background. Don't you want people to know we are happy? Nnamdi forced a smile. I'm just tired, Amaka. You are always tired. He wanted to talk, wanted to explain how hard it had been lately, how he hadn't slept properly in weeks, how the bank kept calling, how he feared his blood pressure was rising, but he kept quiet. Instead, he nodded and went into the bedroom. There, he sat on the edge of the bathtub and let the water run at his eyes filled with tears. How long could this continue? How long could love carry a load it wasn't designed for? Chiamaka's phone never left her hand. It was either she was scrolling, liking, posting, or replying to comments. She called it engagement. But Nnamdi, it was like watching his wife slowly get lost in a world that didn't exist. Babe, you have been on your phone all day, he said one evening. I'm working, Nnamdi, she snapped. Do you think these followers grow themselves? Nnamdi said nothing. He just picked up the TV remote and changed the channel. That night, he couldn't sleep. Chiamaka had just shown him a photo of an influencer who she followed, a girl in Lagos who got invited to a luxury trip to Ghana, all expense paid. She said, her eyes sparkling, that's where I want to reach, babe. He wanted to support her dreams, but at what cost? The next day, Chiamaka started researching flights and hotel options. Babe, I found one retreat in Ghana. It's 350k per person. They say spots are filling fast, so we should hurry. Nnamdi looked at her like she was speaking Chinese. Chiamaka, I don't have 350,000 naira to throw away. It's not throwing away, she argued. It's investment in my brand. People will take me seriously if they see I travel too. But we are already struggling. You know it. Even rent is coming up soon. Chiamaka rolled her eyes and stood up. You don't understand. You never support me. You're just comfortable with your boring life. Those words stunk. She didn't know he had just begged his boss for an advance to pay part of his debt. She didn't know he had been surviving on Gary for lunch. She didn't know he had chest pain almost every night. But it didn't matter. To Chiamaka, Instagram was real life. Likes, comments, followers, those were her currency. She started doing everything for the camera. She even posted of food she didn't eat and clothes she couldn't even afford. Sometimes she would borrow bags from friends and tag them gift from hobby. Nnamdi saw the lies, but he didn't say anything. He was so tired, too drained. Their real life was full of arguments, unpaid bills, mounting debt, and tension. Nnamdi sat in his office one rainy Tuesday, staring at the ceiling. His work laptop was open, but he hadn't typed anything for over an hour. His mind was far, buried under numbers, bills, and loans. He had taken another one, a third loan, this time from a friend named Nonso, who worked in a fintech company and knew some quick loan apps. Guy, it's just more interest. You go pay back sharp sharp when your next salary enters, Nonso said. But Nnamdi knew the truth. His salary never lasted more than a week. The rest of the month was survival. The last loan has gone into paying NEPA bills and restocking the fridge. The house rent was coming up in 2 months, and the landlord had already sent a polite reminder via SMS. But what pushed him over the edge was Chiamaka's birthday. She had been talking about it for weeks. Babe, I want something special this year, she said, twisting her waist and smiling sweet. I've already found a restaurant. They have this rooftop view that's perfect for pictures. You will love it. He had smiled too, but his heart sank. He had nothing, no savings, no backup. She wanted a party. She wanted gifts. She wanted cake, camera, makeup artist, and photographer. And of course, she wanted to go live on Instagram. So Nnamdi borrowed again 150,000 naira. He didn't tell her. He just gave her the birthday she wanted. The event was beautiful. People posted videos. Chiamaka's pictures trended on her page. Everyone commented, your husband is a king. You are so lucky. Soft life or nothing. But they didn't know that king was borrowing from three places and hadn't even eaten breakfast that day because he was out of cash. That night, after the guest has gone and the noise has faded, Nnamdi sat alone in the dark, staring at his phone. He had just received a message from one of the loan apps. You are due for payment in 2 days. Failure to pay will result in exposure to your account. He closed his eyes and let out a shaky breath. He couldn't breathe properly anymore. His chest always felt tight, and sometimes his heart would beat very fast, like it wanted to escape his body. But he couldn't tell Chiamaka. She was busy posting birthday queen energy and planning her next hair installation. One Saturday morning, Nnamdi's elder sister Ijeoma came to visit. She arrived unannounced, holding a small cooler of soup and a bag of garri. That was how Ijeoma showed love. Brodam, she said softly as she hugged him at the door. You have lost weight. Are you okay? I'm fine, Ijeoma, he replied, forcing a smile. Work stress, you know. But Ijeoma didn't buy it. She sat him down in the living room and looked him straight in the eye. Nnamdi, talk to me. What's going on? Why do you look like someone carrying the whole world on your back? He opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked around to be sure Chiamaka wasn't nearby. She was in the bedroom, recording a video with loud background music, so she hadn't even come out to greet Ijeoma properly. After a deep sigh, Nnamdi whispered, things are hard, Ijeoma. Very hard. He told her everything, almost everything. The loans, the pressure, the expectations, the medical signs he had been ignoring. How he couldn't say no to Chiamaka without starting a fight. How tired he was. Ijeoma's eye widened. Nnamdi, so you're killing yourself slowly just to please someone who doesn't even know your struggles. She's my wife, he said quietly. Yes, but you're a human being first. If you die, who will she be doing Instagram for? His words stunk. I'm serious, Nnamdi. This girl doesn't respect your reality. She's living in fantasy while you are drowning in reality. Later that evening, Ijeoma tried to talk to Chiamaka, hoping she would understand. They sat in the kitchen while Nnamdi was on the balcony. I know you love fashion and social media, Ijeoma said carefully. But do you know your husband is suffering? Chiamaka frowned. Suffering? How? He has a good job. I'm not even asking for too much. You think you are not? But you are. All these things, hair, clothes, restaurants, lifestyle, someone is paying for them. And it's not you. Chiamaka rolled her eyes. Auntie, please, I don't like this line of talk. I support him too. I create content. I've even gotten some free PR bosses. But have you ever sat down to ask him how he's doing, how his heart is, if he's sleeping well, if he's happy? Silence. I'm not your enemy, Chiamaka, Ijeoma said softly. I'm just begging you. Don't lose a good man because of things that don't last. But Chiamaka didn't reply. Later that night, when she and Nnamdi were alone, she complained, why did your sister talk to me like I'm a burden? Nnamdi rubbed his head. She didn't mean it that way. She embarrassed me. Is that what you people think of me? That I'm using you? He tried to explain, but she refused to listen. Instead, she coiled up on the bed, back turned to him angrily. And just like that, the warning was ignored. One Thursday evening, Nnamdi had just returned from work. The sun had been merciless that day, and the site was full of complaints. Cement delay, workers fighting, and a near accident. He had pounded with pressure. He hadn't eaten anything since morning, just pure water and painkillers. He walked into the house, dropped his bag slowly, and sat on the edge of the chair. His shirt was soaked with sweat, and his eyes were red. Chiamaka was in the kitchen, talking a video of herself unboxing a new foundation product. Hello beauties, today I'm reviewing this amazing product. You won't believe how flawless it is. She chipped into her phone, not noticing Nnamdi's presence. Babe, he called weakly, but she didn't hear. Amaka, he called up again, louder this time. She turned briefly and replied without pausing her recording. I'm filming, babe. Just give me a minute, I beg. He nodded and leaned back in the chair. But suddenly, his body jerked. His hand dropped to the side of the chair. His eyes fluttered. His chest tightened like someone was sitting on it. His breathing became shallow. He tried to speak, but no words came. And then he collapsed right there in the sitting room. Chiamaka dropped her phone and ran out, screaming, Jesus, Nnamdi! He wasn't moving. Nnamdi, what happened? Nnamdi, what happened? Talk to me. And there was no response. Her hands trembled as she reached for her phone and dialed an ambulance. While she waited, she cried, pacing back and forth, wiping his face with cold water. In that moment, it hit her. This wasn't a joke anymore. The man she thought was strong, unbreakable, and always dependable was lying helpless on the floor. When the ambulance arrived, they rushed him to the hospital. Chiamaka sat beside him, praying in her heart, tears soaking her cheeks. Please, God, don't let anything happen to him. Please. She remembered all the things she had said, the nagging, the demands, the comparisons. If only she could turn back. At the hospital, doctors ran tests immediately. He was placed on oxygen and monitored closely. Chiamaka was told to wait outside. She called his sister Ijeoma, shaking as she spoke. Auntie Ijeoma, Nnamdi has collapsed. He's in the hospital. They don't know what's wrong yet. There was silence on the other end. Then Ijeoma whispered, I warned you. Chiamaka cried even harder. She sat in the hospital waiting room, her hands pressed together, whispering prayers. I'll change. I swear I'll change. Just let him be okay. But the damage was already done. The doctor came out around 11:45 p.m. His face was tired but serious. Mrs. Nnamdi, he asked. Chiamaka jumped up from her seat. Yes, doctor. How is he? He is stable now, the doctor began. But your husband had a mild heart attack. Chiamaka's eyes widened. A heart attack? No, that's not possible. He's young, only 34. Yes, and that's why it's alarming. the doctor said gently. He's under too much physical and emotional stress. His blood pressure is dangerously high, and he has been ignoring it for a while. Chiamaka sat still, her ears ringing. She felt like the walls were closing in. The doctor continued, "We have managed the immediate crisis, but he needs complete rest, a strict diet, and must stay away from stress. If he doesn't change his lifestyle, the next time might not be so mild." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She couldn't breathe properly. "I don't know," she whispered. "Most families don't," the doctor said, "until it's almost too late." Chiamaka was allowed to see him for a few minutes. He looked pale, weak, and nothing like the man she knew. His eyes fluttered open when she called his name. "Babe, I'm so sorry," she sobbed, holding his hands. "Please forgive me." He didn't say anything. He just looked at her with sadness in his eyes. She sat at his bedside all night, unable to sleep. His phone kept buzzing, calls from the loan app, reminders from the bank, and even emails about bill. She saw it all. The truth stared her in the face like a mirror. She finally understood what he had been carrying, and it broke her. She remembered the birthday party, the clothes, the rented cars, the fancy meals, how she forced him to act like a billionaire when they were barely surviving, how she had ignored every sign, every warning, every plea. She had thought she was building a life, but she had been digging his grave. And now she wasn't sure if she would ever forgive herself. From the moment Nnamdi opened his eyes in that hospital bed, Chiamaka changed. Gone was the loud girl with the ring lights and designer slippers. In her place was a quiet, humbled woman, barefaced, tired, and full of regret. She didn't care about makeup or angles anymore. She only cared about saving her husband. The doctors gave her a strict list: no stress, no loud arguments, no salt, no alcohol, no skipping meals, no overworking. He had to rest, eat right, and take his medications daily. When Nnamdi was discharged, she took him home like he was made of glass. She cleaned the house, cooked healthy meals, and even blocked every loan app number from his phone. She sold some of her wigs. She returned one of the designer bags she had bought recently on credit. The seller was angry, but she begged. She deleted her Instagram account. Yes, completely. Her followers were shocked. Messages flooded in. "What happened? Where are you? Did you quit?" But she didn't reply anyone. She had spent years living online. Now it was time for her to face real life. She took a small notebook and began writing all the debts they owed. It was almost 890,000 naira. She cried that day, but she didn't stop. She started calling people Nnamdi borrowed from, friends, colleagues, banks. She spoke to them with humility, explained the situation, and begged for time. Some understood, some didn't, but she didn't care. She would do anything to protect Nnamdi now. She applied for a part-time job at a makeup studio. It wasn't much, but it was something. Every weekend, she helped braid hair for some girls in the estate. She even began tutoring small girls who wanted to learn makeup for 5,000 naira each. She used every naira to buy drugs, fruits, and vegetables for Nnamdi. Gone were the fancy meals. She now made unripe plantain porridge, beans, and oats. No maggi and no oil overload. Just what the doctor ordered. Nnamdi watched her quietly. He didn't say much. His body was still weak, and his heart still tired. But deep down, he saw her, the real her, not the show-off version, not the Instagram queen, just his wife, the woman who finally understood the meaning of love. One evening, he looked at her as she knelt beside the bed, rubbing his legs with warm water. "Why are you doing all this?" he asked, his voice low. Tears filled her eyes. "Because I almost lost you, and I don't deserve you." He didn't respond, but he reached out and held her hand. One hot Monday afternoon, Chiamaka stood in front of a tall office building in Wuse 2, holding her handbag with sweaty palms. Her wig wasn't laid, her makeup was simple, and her heels were worn, but her heart was determined. She had come to see Mr. Ajayi, the manager of a microfinance bank where Nnamdi had borrowed 300,000 naira. They had called earlier that morning, threatening to send recovery agents to his workplace and notify his office of unpaid loans. She couldn't allow that to happen. She waited for almost 2 hours in the reception. When they finally allowed her in, she walked into a cold, air-conditioned office that smelled of polished wood and coffee. "Good afternoon, sir," she greeted, bowing slightly. The man looked up from his desk, frowned and said, "You are the wife of Mr. Nnamdi, right?" "Yes, sir." He sat back in his chair, arms crossed. "Madam, you people have been owing for too long. We have sent messages, made calls, and even sent someone to his house. No payment." Chiamaka bowed her head. "I know, sir. I'm very sorry." "Sorry doesn't pay debt," he snapped. "This is a business." Then something surprising happened. Chiamaka dropped to her knees, right there in his office. "Please, sir," she said, voice trembling. "My husband just had a heart attack. He's recovering, but we're struggling. I take full responsibility. Please, give us time." The man looked uncomfortable. He wasn't expecting that. "I'm not asking for cancellation," she said. "Just give us three more months. I'll pay in bits. I've just started working small jobs. Please don't destroy his job. He worked so hard for that position." There was a long silence. Finally, Mr. Ajayi sighed and leaned forward. "Get up, madam. Don't kneel for me." She stood up slowly, wiping her tears. "I'll see what I can do," he said. "You need to bring a signed payment plan, something written. I'll give you 90 days. But after that, no mercy." "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." She left the building with shaky legs, but a small smile. One down, many to go. That night, she didn't tell Nnamdi what she had done. She just served his food quietly, fed him his medication, and rubbed his feet with balm. But as she lay beside him, her mind was racing. She wasn't just fighting for a man. She was fighting for forgiveness, for redemption, for peace. The days crawled slowly like a snail under harmattan sun. Nnamdi was recovering, but the road was long. Some mornings he couldn't get out of bed. Some nights he wouldn't sit up suddenly, sweating and shaking. Chiamaka would run to his side, calm him down and whisper softly, "You are okay, I'm here." But behind her gentle voice, her heart was on fire. Bills kept coming. Rent was due. One of the loan agents came to the house and shouted at the gate. The neighbors came out, curious. Someone took a video. It nearly went viral, but Chiamaka begged the person not to post it. She cried herself to sleep that night. She had become the thing she feared, a woman known not for her beauty or class, but for her shame. One afternoon, as she was washing clothes in a plastic bucket, her old friend Uju drove by and stopped. "Amaka, is that you?" Uju asked from her car window. Chiamaka smiled faintly, wiping her hands on her wrapper. "Yes, it's me." Uju stepped out in designer jeans and high heels. Her nails were freshly done, her hair newly braided. "What happened now? You just disappeared from Instagram. No event, no post, nothing." Chiamaka forced a smile. "Life happened." Uju leaned on her car. "Abeg, I hope it's not that husband of yours holding you back. If this was me, I would have dumped him and moved on. You too fine to suffer." That comment hit Chiamaka in the chest like a slap. She smiled politely, nodded and said goodbye. But later that night, her tears came hot and bitter. Not because of what Uju said, but because a part of her used to think the same way. She used to believe that a woman should only stay if a man could provide luxury, that love meant money, that respect meant soft life, that value came from appearance. Now, here she was, in a wrapper, no makeup, struggling to pay 500 naira for blood pressure drugs. She finally saw the truth. She had buried them in debt, buried their laughter, buried her husband's joy. And all for what? Likes, comments, pictures. The house no longer smelled of perfume and scented candles. Now it smelled of menthol, warm food, and medicine. There were no deliveries, no PR packages, no camera lights, but there was real life and real consequences. One night, Nnamdi called her softly as she massaged his shoulders. Amaka, yes, baby, do you regret marrying me? Her heart cracked. She fell on her knees beside the bed and looked into his eyes, tears already dropping. No, I regret not loving you the right way. He held her hand and nodded slowly. Chiamaka stood by the window one quiet morning, staring at the street as the sun rose slowly behind the dusty rooftops. The neighborhood was calm, only the sound of a crying baby, a hawker shouting agege bread, and a woman sweeping her compound in the distance. Inside their house, Nnamdi was still sleeping peacefully. His chest moved slowly, rhythmically, like the ticking of a fragile clock. And Chiamaka, hands folded, eyes wet, heart heavy. If only she knew. If only she knew that the weak obsession didn't matter. If only she knew that followers didn't pay hospital bill. If only she knew that all the ring lights and beauty filters in the world couldn't heal a tired heart. If only she knew that her husband was breaking, slowly, quietly, right in front of her while she smiled for the camera, she would have done things differently. She remembered the many times she had mocked his efforts, the night he came home late, sweaty and hungry, and she greeted him with complaints instead of warmth. The times he said, let's plan, and she rolled her eyes. The times she made him feel small just because other men were flaunting wealth online. If only she knew. She would have made rice and stew and waited at the door. She would have kissed his forehead and asked, how was your day? She would have told him that he was enough, even without bands or designer belts. She would have remembered that the real soft life was peace, health, and someone who truly loves you. But she didn't know, not until life forced her to learn through pain. She turned and looked at their small living room. The chandelier was gone. She had sold it to buy his medicine. The TV has cracked and hadn't been replaced. But the silence now felt peaceful, not empty. There were no lies here anymore, just love, simple, honest, and raw. Later that evening, she opened a new notebook and titled it, If Only I Knew. It was a letter to herself, a record of all the lessons she had learned the hard way. She wrote, money is sweet, but peace is sweeter. A good man is not perfect, but he tries. Do not lose him chasing shadows. It has been 6 months since Nnamdi's heart attack. The doctors had warned him, and Chiamaka had made all the necessary changes. But sometimes, the weight of life could not be shifted by merely changing habits. And that's what Chiamaka has learned the hardest way. Some things, once broken, couldn't be fixed. One fateful morning, Nnamdi woke up with pain in his chest, but it wasn't the same as before. This time, it was deeper, sharper. His breath became labored. His face contorted in agony as he tried to sit up. Chiamaka rushed to his side, calling his name. Babe, what's wrong? He gasped, clutching his chest. And in that moment, she knew. Before the ambulance arrived, Nnamdi breathed his last. The love of her life, the man who had given her everything, was gone. Chiamaka held his hand for a long time, but it no longer felt warm. His body was lifeless, his heart broken. She cried for hours, unable to comprehend the emptiness. How could it be? They had come so far. They had fought, cried, and made amends. They were starting to heal. But now she was alone. Chiamaka had lost Nnamdi, and with him, a part of herself. For more interesting tales like this, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share for more tales.